and overpunished, not for low-level, non-violent crimes. You hear politicians talk all the time about, well, we need to do something about mass incarceration by getting people out who have low-level crimes. If we care about mass incarceration, we have to lean into sentences being served by people who were convicted of more serious crimes, like murder. There's a reason that we in the United States of America lead the world in incarceration and locking people up. It's because we give sentences that are way out of line with the rest of the world. We are absolutely exceptional in the United States of America in terms of locking people up. And that is something that needs to change and that we plan to be a part of changing through this Beyond Guilt project. So what does Beyond Guilt do? We try and free people who are overpunished. They've been in a significant time for a serious crime. Some people we represent are innocent. Most are not, in terms of they're being properly convicted of at least something that the government said that they did. But they are all human beings. They are each one a human being who's somebody's sister or brother, father, daughter, you name it. And we need to make sure that we're always humanizing people in our criminal legal system. And we don't just free individuals, and we've gotten 45 people out since 2019. We don't just work to free individual people who are incarcerated for too long. We also work to change public perception around the need for long sentences. And the way we do that is through storytelling, through humanizing people who are locked away behind bars in our prison system in the state of Ohio. And the hope is by telling these stories that have impact, we can actually change policy and transform the way that sentencing works in the state of Ohio. We need more vehicles to get people out once they've demonstrated rehabilitation and transformation. And so that is what Beyond Guilt's about. It's about freeing individuals, but also freeing the community from this scourge called mass incarceration. So to kick things off, we'd like to play videos of the people who you're going to hear from in a panel discussion in a moment. So we'll get the videos started, and then we're going to have a panel discussion where I'll moderate, but then the audience will have an opportunity to ask some questions. So,
I was dumb. Like, I made a very dumb decision. There's no explanation to it now without me sounding crazy, but I was 19 and I wanted to help my friend, and I was put in a bad situation. So I just felt like I did something that I had no understanding the repercussions of the situation. My brother is a lot different, and he's like a loner. And I definitely think my situation impacted him. He started music, and he's had some other things that kind of impacted him. So I think all of it has definitely inspired his music. So it's hard to find a place, but I did find a good group of friends when I was in school. I've always been the, I don't know, the bad one. I wouldn't say bad, but so we go rob this gas station, and it's shift change, so they only got $50, and obviously nobody was happy about that. But I'm a big believer in signs, so I was ready to go. It didn't happen, and that was it for me. So we were like, we're gonna head back, and so we were going back. Ended up driving through Clifton to go to this spot that we always go hang out at. And when we drove through Clifton, somebody, I don't remember who, it doesn't matter, but mentioned laptops and like backpacks and students, and I'm like, no. We drive past a street that looks pretty dark, and there's a large crowd of people walking up the street. So I guess this seemed like the perfect opportunity. And they jumped out the car. And so I saw the people running after they attempted to rob them, and I went to go look for them, but I couldn't find them. Like, I never saw them coming back to my car. So the only thing I could think to do was like make a U-turn and go find them. Because at this point, I'm just thinking I have to get them. Nothing's on my mind except helping out the people that were with me. So when I go turn this U-turn, it's a pretty big intersection. And by the time I get around and come back down the street, there's cops everywhere. Yeah, it's fast. Clifton's fast, yeah. So, and it's very small. So there's police everywhere. And I'm just driving down the street and I notice my co-defendant, my boyfriend at the time, his hat on the ground. And this is just how naive I am. So I pick up his hat because I'm like, oh my gosh, they're gonna trace it back, CSI, like, you know. We're not even in the system, but I don't think things like this. I'm just thinking they're gonna get him. And so I pick up this hat, and that is what got me caught. Because I picked up the hat and an undercover was watching me. So I went to go leave and I'm freaking out and I accidentally turn on a no outlet. And when I turn on the street, he blocks me in and he says he saw me pick up the hat and that was an accessory to robbery. I was devastated. 10 years is a long time, especially in 2014. You think of 2024 and that doesn't even seem, you know, attainable at that time. So it was heartbreaking. Definitely don't regret it because I learned a lot. Like, if you take the time in there to do what you need to do, like, then you can come out okay. So, it took years for me to get on the right track in there, but I did. Prison reform is my ultimate end goal. Like, if I can change like the way the schooling goes in there, I think that the way people do sentencing is crazy. Like, I think that like the system is just severely flawed, and if I could get in there somewhere to be a voice, then that would be what I would love to do. I think that could be a new passion, but only if I can get in there. So yeah, I'm trying to wiggle my way in somewhere.
I like going outside, doing things outside, which we really can't do right now. But my first summer home, I'm like, I can't really do anything, but I've been trying to do things the best that I can to have fun and just live life. I'm an open book type of person. You can just ask me anything and I'll pretty much tell you up front any question. I mean, and other than that, that's just me. I couldn't believe it. I just sat there. I couldn't cry. I couldn't do anything. I was just in shock. I didn't know how to react. And I remember the sheriff, when we was going up on the elevator, he got on his radio and he said, we got one we need to watch. She just got sentenced to life. I have changed so much that sometimes I have to look at myself and say, who are you? The person that I used to be didn't care about life, didn't care about her freedom, didn't care about anything. I had no patience. My anger level was at an all-time high. I was running the streets so much that a lot of things that I should have been there for, I was not. Like I said, I'm the only one who has ever got in trouble. So the life that I was living, they really didn't understand. And it was, I wish you would do better, I wish you would stop type of thing. What can we do to help? What can we do to change this? And me pushing them away, wanting to do what I wanted to do. I know they're afraid, like, is she ever gonna do it again? Like, no, I'm not. Today, I'm more reserved, I'm more calm, I'm not angry. I care about my freedom, I care about life, I care about other people. I have feelings and emotions that I didn't even know that I had. I have a heart now. I didn't used to have one. If I can stop a young woman from going down the path that I took in life, I would love to help. I want to motivate women to do better, even under hard circumstances like being in prison. When you get out, you can repair your life, which is I'm trying to do now. Not everybody in prison, just because they're there, are bad people. You can find some really good people, good-hearted people in prison. I believe everybody deserves a second chance, or at least a chance to prove to you that I'm not this person. Fight. That's all I want to say, is just fight for what you want. Fight for peace, fight for happiness. Never give up. Under no circumstance or whatever you go through in life, always try to see the good in yourself and in others, and try to find what makes you happy in life.
My name is Crystal Pfeiffer, and I'm 59 years old. I served almost 35 years in prison for complicity to murder. I was 24 when I started serving my sentence. I went into the military when I turned 18 years old. I signed up for the United States Army Reserves and did my basic training and advanced individual training at Fort Dix, New Jersey. And I was a light wheel vehicle power generator mechanic. I think that's one of the things that drew me to joining the military, was the stability of it, the everyday routine, and I wanted to get away from the instability in my life because my father, he's an alcoholic to this day, and I ran away a lot trying to go back and forth and, you know, choose stability over instability. It was just like, how do I make the right choices in a bad situation? You know, it was kind of hard, but when I first got there, it was a lot like the military in a way, you know, a lot of the chow hall and the terminology, and the choices in there too were stability and instability. I could choose a life in there of drugs and, you know, craziness, chaos, or I could choose a life of education, free education. So many good programs that they offered for those who wanted to get into it. And that's what I did. Urbana University, used to be at ORW, and I got my bachelor's degree in social services. And that was just education. There are other programs as well, like 12 Steps, AA, Celebrate Recovery, which is a faith-based 12-step program. Programs like Embark, Kind Way Embark, that's a year-long program that I completed. And that was so life-changing for me that I stayed on as a facilitator after that for 6 years and helped facilitate that program. In 1997 was my first time up for parole. I had served 10 years and I was eligible on a 15 to life for parole then, but I got a 10-year continuance. In the meantime, the law changed and kind of changed the way that the parole board looked at our sentences and placed us into categories. And when I went back for the second time, I was given another 5 years because of that. My third time going in front of them, I tried to, well not, I didn't try, but I got on a class action lawsuit, which went against the way that they were placing us into the categories. For complicity to murder, should have been put into a category 11, which was under the new law 15 to 20 years. But they put me into a category 13, which was 25 to life. So I fought that. I got on a class action lawsuit and took it to court, and you know, they got rid of the categories and just used their own discretion after that point. I got 3 more years the next time I went, 2 more years the next time I went after that. And I wrote, OJPC, I wrote the Beyond Guilt project, and I said, you know, it's beyond guilt now. You know, this is beyond guilt. That's when David got involved and said, yes, you know, yes, it is. So they helped me show the parole board exactly my role in what happened, but also supported me in continuing to strive forward there too. They did a packet for me and put it together as to everything that I had done in prison and everything that I had, you know, focused on, and the insight that I had into what I did, and and all that. I think every single day until the day that they called me down to pack my things up and to leave. I mean, that's when, I really knew that, okay, this is really happening. To make it through the entrance building and to see David there, to see my Embark sisters there, all the people that have supported me and were getting ready to support me in a whole different way. I mean, I can't even, there's not a word to describe the feeling other than being the most humble person I've ever been, being the most joyful person I think I've ever been. My ears were hurting, my jaws were hurting from smiling so much. I think I still smile every day because the grace of it all,
Like, my whole focus was just on the legal side of trying to get out. I really wasn't thinking about the educational part and, how I could fight the system by learning more. But when I started doing the program and stuff, it really opened my mind to, problem solving. And that's really what helped me, gain the focus to have and the plans to really have something ready for me when I do, one day be released. Because even though I had the life tell, I always just kept it in the back of my mind that I'm gonna be home one day. I'm a more structured person, but to be rehabilitated is to really change the outside world too, because the problems are on the outs. It's not on the inside. The thing that I learned is you have to really stay focused on your plan to succeed. Otherwise, you will be off track doing stuff that will lead you back to prison. I really had to cut off old friends so I could stay on the path of re-entry, really, because I could have been on a re-entry to re-enter back into the prison system. Because when I was first released, I was getting a lot of calls from people, bro, come on. I'm not on that no more. I just want to become a civil servant, really. I'm starting a clothing line and stuff real soon. Me and my mother actually put a book together, which will be coming out soon. something long term is, possibly thinking for a change or healing broken circles to help the youth or people who have been incarcerated already to continue their freedom too. My girlfriend wakes up first, heads out to work. I don't have to be at work until 3, so I usually, clean up the house a little bit, watch a little TV, head to work from 3 to 11. And then I just come back home, eat some dinner, go to sleep. A simple good life though, for real, because that's what's gonna keep me focused.
Is we're going to, well, I never see it. We're going to do this in 2 parts, because I do want to ask some questions of Harriet Kaufman and also Professor Jim Sutcliffe. But first, thank you for being part of this. Thanks for being vulnerable. Thanks for sharing your stories. And I guess the one question, we need a mic to pass to. Yeah, we got an extra mic. Or I can actually just, I will just, okay. What was it like having the system, our criminal legal system, define you as guilty by your crime? What did that feel like? Deja, you want to start? Might as well.
How did it feel to be defined as guilty?
Yeah.
Being defined as guilty wasn't that hard to accept for me because I was guilty. It was the amount of time and what they were attaching to us when we were all only 19 years old at the time of our crime. So I can handle being guilty because I did need to, pay for my crimes. But it was just to the extent that they took. That was a problem.
Okay. I'm going to stick around, moving this way. Crystal, same question.
I would have to say that I feel the same way. I knew what I was guilty of, that I was guilty, and it was time to start taking, to be responsible and be accountable for my wrongdoings. But it was the amount of time. It was, I was sentenced to 15 to life, and 35 years later, I just had an understanding. So, but.
Okay. Keep it interesting. We'll go over here first. Michelle.
Finding out that I was guilty for things that I did not do, but being guilty of things that I did do going to prison, it was hard because I felt like I should have been punished for the things that I did do, not for the things that I didn't.
To piggyback off of what she just said, that's kind of how I felt too, because I was wrongfully convicted of murder at the age of 19 too, and sentenced to 18 to life. And I spent 13 years in there, so I didn't see any of my 20s on the street. But when I got found guilty, it was just like a whole bunch of rage and being sadness all at once in the courtroom. So, I guess I handled it well because I didn't get into it with the COs or whatever. So.
I want to push Deja and Crystal a little bit on something. I mean, you say you're fine with being labeled guilty because you were guilty. What was it like being in prison in terms of how you were treated by by the staff there based on, the fact that you've been convicted of crimes? I mean, you're given a number. Some staff members refer to you by number. Others don't, but they, how often do you call Miss Evans or Miss Spiker? So I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that.
Every day. Sometimes I think no matter how hard I worked, no matter what respect that I gave, I was always reminded that I was an inmate, that I mean, there's such a separation of who they are and who you are. And not that, you know, you wanted a friendship or anything, but you wanted respect. You know, if you gave respect, you wanted respect back. And I think that was the hardest thing, especially like, you know, having a military background and stuff. You know, it was always yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir. But, you know, you were always on a daily basis put in your place. And it just wasn't a good feeling at all.
Deja?
Well, I actually had to answer this to the judge for my release because I did not do well with disrespect from the staff. It took me a long time to learn to pick my battles because they do not treat you fairly. They don't treat you okay. Miss Evans, probably, I didn't hear that a lot. It's probably, you know, inmate or, you know, whatever they want to call you. And then I'm not going to say like it was really bad with the staff, but they are not supposed to cuss at you, so you are not supposed to cuss at them. Whereas if you should talk to them disrespectfully, they write you up and we are penalized for it. But they can speak to us any way they want. So I did remind officers from time to time, like, you know, you could very well be in this situation. Any drive home, there could be an accident and you would land up in here for life, like anyone else who's in here for something accidental. So there's no reason to come in here and treat us this way when you chose this job. So I think that's it. I do want to say one thing though, just I thought about it. What was the initial question? Something about how they being treated guilty. Sorry, that was it. So I think the worst part is coming home and still being treated as if you're guilty by society. So I do want to point that out. I think that's the weird.
Anybody else feel that same way about being home and still being defined by the past or worried about the past?
Oh, yes. Having a felony on your record is very hard for you to get a decent job. It's hard for you to get housing. It's hard for you to get just about anything, because when they see that felony on your record, the first thing they do is look at you and say, oh, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do for you. I was so tired of hearing, I'm so sorry, there's nothing I can do for you. You don't even know who I am. So what do you mean there's nothing you can do for me? That used to really, really anger me, and it just really recently has let up where I've been going places and people know that I'm a felon and they don't treat me different. I just want to be treated the same way as everyone else, no matter what I have in my life.
Crystal, I saw you shaking your head like you don't necessarily agree.
Well, I think I started networking before I left, and I don't know, like I was talking about the Embark program, the resources, I did so much research on the different resources that I knew were available and that I had to seek out or learn about. And I have reached out to each and every one of those. And I mean, I started out working with dogs, but I mean, 6 months later, I have a good job. I found a nice place to live through Embark. I just got a car. It's only 6 months out, so I feel so blessed. I do. I mean, I use my resources. My bus pass, got me to and from work every single day. A bicycle, I got me a bicycle until I can, start getting the bus passes. And it's just, to me, I've been so blessed. I haven't had that struggle.
Kaya?
With me, I kind of changed locations because I felt like if I went back to the same city that I was from, that I would still be looked at as that same person that I was before I got locked up. And it was quite evident that that was true because, like I spoke in the video, right when I got home, I was getting calls from people that I was incarcerated with and people that's been home the whole time I was incarcerated, wanting me to come back and, sell drugs with them or, steal, rob stuff like with them and stuff like that. So I chose to take myself out of the situation because if you can't change the people, you'll change the people. basically. You could say the same in a whole different type of ways, but y'all get the gist of it. So I chose to leave my environment so I could start over and create my own environment.
One last question for you before I ask some questions of some other individuals. So when you hear the words beyond guilt, what does that mean to you?
Beyond guilt to me means that it's still a person inside of the person who's guilty, or it's still hope for the person. So if that person is showing that they have changed, then I believe that they deserve a second chance. And especially if they continue to show once they get out, then that's always a bonus too.
Thank you.
Restoration. When you give someone a second chance and you allow them to restore themselves, I mean, that is totally beyond guilt. You know, to be able to let the past be in the past and to become who you were meant to be.
Beyond guilt means a new start, a fighting chance, seeing you for who you really are and letting others see you for who you really are. Beyond guilt gave me a second chance at life. I felt like my life was over in prison and now I have a new life. And that's what beyond guilt means to me, new life.
To me, beyond guilt means seeing us all beyond our mistakes, past the wrong decisions that we have decided to make. So I think beyond guilt is the opportunity to get all of you to see that it's not just us who are going through this, but there's people who are still in there who are also beyond their guilt.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Can I get Harriet? Where are you, Harriet? To come on and take a seat. And Jimmy, do you mind just coming up? And...
I can stand by the side.
Okay. So this exhibit, by the way, would not have happened without a number of people. I got a call, I don't remember now when it was, well over a year ago from Jimmy Suchman, who is a professor at OSU in women's gender and sexuality studies, and who was a scholar in residence at the time at the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center, figuring out ways that we can collaborate around Beyond Guilt. And so in many ways, you were the driving force in getting this exhibit going, and we're just so grateful to you. And Harriet Kaufman has taken most of the photographs of the people, certainly the ones that you saw out in the gallery, in the gallery, but took most of those photographs and was just so eager to volunteer and be involved in that way. And so I've got a few questions for you, and I should also give a shout out to NKU and Professor Sarah Dradick, who was very helpful in getting her students to do many of the videos. I don't know if Kamisha Thomas is here or not, but she did Hyatt's video. And again, this is all done, people volunteering their time. So we're really grateful. So what do you think the role is? I'm gonna talk to you first, Sarah. What do you think artists like you can do to advance social justice? What's the role in art in trying to move us forward to a better place?
I think we have the capacity to see the possible. We have the ability to see what can be. We can see human beings who serve their time and more and need to be welcomed in a non-judgmental way. Each of us has made mistakes, and luckily nobody saw or caught us. I mean, it's not that we're criminals, maybe. The system hasn't judged us as guilty. But we all make mistakes. And then in some cases, they're criminal wrongdoing in them. And then we are still human beings. So I think that people who can see what can be, what may be, and is possible, is what art can do.
Thank you. And Jenny, to you, why did you get involved in this? What was the draw to you?
Yeah, I also just want to give a shout out for collaborators that are here as well. So Austin Chambers in the back, who is the graphic designer of the panels, and then Jessica Ju, who is a story collector, and we work together to collect hours and hours and hours of transcripts. Look forward to hearing more stories in the coming future. So just want to thank you all for your participation as well in this project. But you know, the part of Beyond Guilt that is about the system treating people differently, and asking the courts, you know, asking family, asking yourself to think of yourself beyond guilt. For anyone in the room who already has a critique of the prison industrial complex, who you know, is already like, yeah, this is a horrible system, it needs to be abolished. But we too need to understand the problems of the system through stories. Because it isn't abstract, it's not just an institution, it is a lived experience. And so I think that's the power of why I really wanted to get involved, but also it was kind of an organic process that we were meant to be. But I think that's part of it, it's not only convincing people who need to be convinced, but it's also really grounding why it is that we want to abolish the system. And it's because of individuals, right? It's because of you, Deja, Michelle, Crystal, Kaid. It's because of you that we want to break down the system. So, yeah.
Thank you. I want to make sure that there's an opportunity for people in the audience to ask questions. So what I'm going to do, if you have a question, just raise your hand and I'll come to you with the mic. And don't be shy. Okay, great.
I'm not sure who this is directed to, but the statistic up there about the number of people that have been wrongly incarcerated and then why that happens, whether it's mistaken identity or incorrect identification, that kind of thing. So that seems really problematic to me. That seems, is there any way to work on that piece of, I don't know how to, I mean, it has to do with the way our system works, but it doesn't seem right. So that piece of it, you know, why people are wrongly convicted and end up in jail, what's that about?
It is about a system that doesn't care about the human beings that are in it, whether you're guilty or innocent. That's the big problem. And so let me say this. The bigger problem, I mean, because it is important to make sure that folks like candid who didn't at all do what the government said they did, never see a prison. It is also important that my sister here, Crystal, who did exactly, well, I mean, maybe not exactly what the government said, but you were involved in something that led to your incarceration and death of another human being. And it is also very important that we not lose sight of more of the problem, which is people staying in for decades and decades and decades when they could be home. I couldn't believe how the parole board kept saying no to Crystal Piper. I couldn't believe it. She had one of the best institutional records I had ever seen. And they kept saying no to you. And you were no danger anymore. And you had already served a long period of time in prison. So I think we gotta make sure that we don't lock up people who should never be there. We have, OJPC's represented a handful of people who fall in that category. And, you know, the system is flawed. It's run by human beings. We're going to have mistaken identification. Sometimes police officers are going to go too far and push people into false confessions. That happens. And sometimes judges and juries just get it wrong. And then we also get it wrong when we overpush. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Thank you.
Good. And we can talk more offline about it. All right, other questions, please. Don't be shy. Bailey.
Yeah. So for those of us that are passionate about reentry, if you guys could think about one or two things in your reentry journey that was really, really important to you. Like when you think back about reentering and transitioning out of prison, what was a game changer for you? One or two things, the top things that really made a difference for you getting out and succeeding and being able to have a voice, etc.
To answer that question, I think it was back in 2010 when I was at a level 3 institution, and one of my friends who I've known in the neighborhood was incarcerated with me in the same block. He told me, I had got the opportunity to leave what was like bad blocks to go to a merit block. And at first I turned it down. And then when I told my friend, like, I just turned it down, I'm staying down here. He's like, man, why you scared to change? I'm like, what you talking about? Like, I ain't scared to change. I ain't scared of nothing. You know how that goes. So he kind of basically just gave me a reality check. Like, bro, you got life. You need to go up there so you can finish what you already started as far as your legal work and programs to stay out of the way so you can go home. So that was really a game changer for me. And it really didn't sink in when I first went up there, but like I kind of made a promise to myself once he was murdered by a CO inside of there that I had to finish that program. So that was kind of a game changer.
I think having someone to push you, to say, you got this person, because there were days when I wanted to fall to my knees like I have. I knew that I had a choice, just like in there, I knew that I had a choice to come out here and just take the wheel and try and learn 35 years of technology. I mean, there's, I went to college in there and I was using computers and, things like that, but going in and out of doors, I mean, there was these little things that people really just had to push me into figuring out how to do on my own, and not being scared and to just go for it. Driving the car, it took me twice to do parking and stuff, but I have my own vehicle, and I didn't think, I knew I had the choice to be scared to death of it, or to just, let's go, I'm living life, I'm not doing life.
Hey, before you pass the mic, do you want to say, give Bailey a shout out about her role and what she does?
Bailey, I went to Rachel's house, Big Ben's halfway house when I got out, and Bailey has been my rock. I mean, she has the bus, I think, was probably the biggest freedom for me was once I learned that bus system. I got lost a few times. Bailey, you can get me out. I'm like, but she's like, I got you, girl, I got you. But Bailey, please stand. She was my pusher. I got this.
Michelle?
My push and my motivation was that word felon, not letting it stop me from doing the things that I wanted to do. I got a second chance because I have a purpose, and my purpose is to help those that's already incarcerated, and when they come home, try to make it easier and smoother for them. I feel like I beat that felon label because I have a job at the Urban League of Great South, Western Ohio. I'm a community outreach advocate. I go out in my community every day and help people. I'm helping people when they come home from prison. I'm helping people that's out there on the streets. That's what I was destined to do. I want to take this beyond guilt thing even more, because I was the first person to get out with beyond guilt. And I want people to see that behind a felon person is a real person, a person that deserves a second chance, that deserves to have a house. I have a house now, finally. It was hard for me to get things in my name because Michelle Robinson is a felon. That does not mean that I'm a bad person. That just means I have some growth to do, and I am growing.
I think that coming home, the most important thing was support. So obviously having family and a place to go, because a lot of people do get out of prison and don't have housing. So the fact that I had somewhere to go was the biggest thing. My family helped me get my vehicle, so I was able to get on my feet very quickly. I would say the biggest blessing since then is people like you guys who want to know, because I started at Cincinnati State and I just came across some really amazing people, and I have really amazing opportunities coming my way, all because of people who don't judge. So I think that, like, yeah, those are the biggest things. You guys just keep doing what you're doing, and then it makes our transition easy.
Other questions? Yes.
Hi, my name is Terry Green, and I am a returning citizen myself. But I guess I want to ask, is there any inspiration or words of encouragement that you would want to give to people who are just recently getting out or in the process of getting out? Any words of encouragement that you want to share?
I have my first off. So it's not going to be easy. I have only been out for a year, and the 22nd will be 3 months. So I can relate to what Kaid said about having to cut like everybody off. Unfortunately, I am still in the same city, so I do feel that way. Like, you're running into old people is the hardest thing for me. Seeing people from my past life, worrying about what they're thinking of me, or just even having to answer the question all the time of like, how are you, or what are you doing? Like, I don't want to hear that all the time. It stops me from going out. It's crippling for me. So I think that like those are the things that are going to be the hardest when you feel like you're losing everybody around you, because it's going to feel like that. It's falling together. So I am currently going through this myself. It feels like everything is falling apart, but I see the bigger picture. So it's just important to keep your eye on the bigger picture, because it really will get hard, and there will be moments where you'll even feel like, I miss those people. Like, and that's not, I grew up in there, so it might sound crazy for you who don't know that, but I grew up in there. So spending all of those years with these people, you do create bonds, and as you see, not everyone in there is bad. So I have these days where I just like send videos to my friends, like, I miss you guys. Like, I cannot wait for you to be home. And the best thing that I can do is get myself together so that we can be a help for all of the community. So just keep your head up. It's gonna get hard a little bit.
So, to answer your question, give you some words of encouragement. It seems right now that you're in this building, so you focus, right? You know what you want to do, and you kind of have, hopefully you have a support system that will help you along the way. But the main thing is to make sure that you have your goals in your brain and the plan that you want to do to be successful and to attain those goals, and just make sure that you stay on that track. Because once you deviate, that's when those people from your past be like, yes, he was lying. They always want to backbite. So the reality of the situation is, you just return, whoever return, you know what your past life was, but since you have made a change in your life or in yourself to do something different, make sure that you stay on that path. Because it will, like she said, it is hard out here.
Yes.
Hello. Feel free to not have a comment, but I know that Theranos lady, she's pregnant and she scammed a bunch of people out of a bunch of money, so she is facing some time, but she's saying since she's pregnant, can they wait? So if anybody has thoughts on pregnancy and incarceration, like pre-sentencing, if we think we should just let everybody get to wait till they have their baby, maybe get to nurse a little while before you serve your time, or that she can be like everyone else, or if you have some ideas for changes around like human reproduction and incarceration.
They have the baby part in Marysville where after you have your babies, you're allowed to have probably a year. 3 years? Okay. But they do have something in the prison for women who are pregnant.
But yes.
It's really hard to get that. Yeah. It's not open.
No.
It's really hard to get in that program.
Professor,
I just was commenting, it's very difficult to get into that program, and so they actually, every time we've even toured it, they're not full. So the criteria are very high, just like they are to get into programming, for the mothers to actually be in there with their children.
And that's Professor Angela Bryant from the Ohio State University. I asked my questions, but I guess here's what Yeah. Some of it came out, but that's a great question. So, what are you doing now? Is that the question? You're my boss. Tell me. Is that right?
I like that.
All right.
I'm a with that. So today I am officially a licensed nail tech. So I went to nail school and Cincinnati State. I did 2 schools at once, which was really hard, and because I couldn't work, so that was even harder. So I did that. I just got employed as a full-time nail tech, my first full-time job. So at a vegan nail shop. So I'm still in Cincinnati State. I am in a transfer program. So I will transfer to get my bachelor's in psychology. And then, law is the way I want to go because I have to know the law to change the law. So that's my thing. But, so you guys know Fringe? Do you guys know about Fringe? Because I'm going to promote really quick. Is it okay?
Yeah, please.
So you guys know about the Fringe Coffee House in Hamilton, Ohio, which, is big with felons. They have a 1-year reentry thing. So they are possibly, I'm going to speak it, they're expanding into OTR very soon. So we meet with them next week about that. So I think that's exciting. So then I can help people coming to Cincinnati get jobs through there with Patrick. So yeah, I have a lot working, and just remember my name, which you will hear from.
Yeah, whose nails are you going to work on at some point?
Oh yes, David. As soon as I am so my new job will go through training, but when I'm a nail tech apprentice, David will come sit in my chair and get a manicure. First one.
True story. Michelle?
As I said, I work with the Urban League. I'm a community outreach advocate. I'm over in District 4. What I do is report to shootings in the top 10 neighborhoods. So anytime there's a shooting in Cincinnati, in District 4, I am the one that has to report there. It's a bittersweet job for me because I actually caught my case in District 4. And now I have to serve that neighborhood where I was a menace to the neighborhood. Now I'm actually helping those in the neighborhood. And like them two just said, they have to see old people places and things. I love to run across old people because I want them to see what I'm doing now, and maybe that will help them want to change and want to do better. So when I see those out on the street that I used to run with, or I used to sell drugs to, or did drugs with, I run to them. They run from me, but I run to them because I want them to see, look, you can change. I mean, yeah, I had to go away for 13 years, but I'm back and now I want to help you. So that's what I'm out there trying to do now, is help others.
Well, I am very involved still with Celebrate Recovery. On Wednesday nights, I have a Lower Lights ministry that I attend. And I'm going to be very involved with the Welcome Home initiative as well. I know there's other lifer sisters that are going to be coming home, and I think I'm going to be the tough one, like she is. I'm going to be the tough one and be like, no, you can do this. I'm going to be the pusher, because I believe that hand up, not hand out, but that hand up, it meant everything and it means everything for people to believe in us and to allow us to believe in ourselves that we can do this without someone telling us what to do every minute of the day, and we can do it, how to do it, and all that we can make the choices that we need to make to succeed.
And you just got a new job. And you just got a new job, right?
Yes, I'm actually, I'm an accounting clerk, working on 2 computers, 2 screens, answer the phones, everything that I thought I could ever do. I'm doing it all at once, every single day. I didn't realize you showed me something, I got it. I might have to ask 2 or 3 more times, so I'm gonna take notes and debrief myself, and I rewrite my notes, and and I just got a car, I'm just,
So Kaya, when you are not tending to your handsome little son, who's a little bit, he's a year, not quite a year, right?
No, he's only 7 months.
He's 7 months. So tell us how you using your time.
So I'm currently a machine operator for a chemical plant in Marion, Ohio. And I also do outreach services. So I know a bunch of guys. I'm also from Cincinnati, where I got arrested in District 4 too. But so I know a lot of guys who have mentor programs already started. So I go to Cincinnati, and talk to the youth there. I'm currently negotiating a spot inside of the Marion City School to mentor the students there. So hopefully I will find that out maybe Monday or Tuesday, whether or not I get that or not. But I'm trying to also start my own program in the near future, working out ways to get funded through the government. Met the current Republican president, the Senate president, last year we talked about it. So trying to link up with them. I'm trying to be all over Ohio with mentoring. And that was one of the reasons why I chose to leave Cincinnati, because I would network everywhere. So to be in the middle, I could go north, south, and get there in 2 hours. I drive kind of fast. So we get there in 2 hours. And that's just what I want to do, man. Just help others, bring awareness to, the slavery by another name. And if you haven't read the book, The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander, you can get it. But yes, that's what I'm doing. I'm just trying to stay positive and help the youth and the returning citizens.
Thank you. Thank you for suggesting that last question, Deja. Thank you to all the panelists and those who made this exhibit possible. And thanks to all of you for coming on a dreary Friday and help us create awareness about this important work of Beyond Guilt. So thank you.